Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you've ever wondered why your friendly neighbors to the north or south seem to live in a slightly different reality, you've come to the right place. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating topic, the Great Divide, or why Americans and Canadians, despite sharing the world's longest undefended border, see the world so differently. It's a tale of two countries, intertwined by history, but walking surprisingly different paths. So grab a coffee or a double-double, and let's get into it. And hey, if you enjoy this kind of content, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. It really helps the channel grow. To truly understand the differences, we have to go back to the beginning. Both nations were born from the British Empire, but their births were dramatically different. The United States was forged in the fire of revolution. The whole idea was a radical break from the old world, a rejection of monarchy, and a passionate embrace of individual liberty, life, and the pursuit of happiness. This revolutionary spirit is baked into the American DNA. It's a story of defiance, of "don't tread on me," and a belief that individuals can and should shape their own destiny, free from government overreach. This foundational story fuels a deep-seated individualism that you see in American culture today, from its entrepreneurial spirit to its debates about personal freedoms. Now let's contrast that with Canada's origin story. Canada didn't have a big, dramatic revolutionary war to break away from Britain. Its journey to nationhood was a slow, peaceful evolution. The motto of Canada, peace, order, and good government, says it all. While the US was focused on individual rights, Canada was built on the idea of creating a stable, orderly society where the collective good was paramount. This came from a desire to build a functional nation distinct from the revolutionary fervor to the south. Many of the early English-speaking settlers were United Empire loyalists, people who fled the American Revolution because they wanted to remain loyal to the crown. This fostered a culture that values community, compromise, and a more cautious, pragmatic approach to change. So, right from the start, you have one country founded on me, and another founded on we. This fundamental difference in origin stories has a huge impact on how each country views the role of government. In the United States, there's a prevailing sense of skepticism towards government. The ideal is often a limited government that interferes as little as possible in the lives of its citizens. The American dream is deeply personal. It's about individual achievement and pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. Government programs are often viewed with suspicion, as potential infringements on liberty, or as inefficient bureaucratic machines. This isn't to say Americans don't want government help, but the cultural narrative is one of self-reliance first. In Canada, the perspective is almost the opposite. Canadians generally see the government as a positive force for good in society. It's viewed as a tool to ensure fairness, equality, and a social safety net for everyone. Think about universal healthcare. In Canada, it's a source of national pride, a symbol that everyone, regardless of their income, deserves to be cared for. It's a collective investment in the well-being of the entire population. This trust in government institutions also extends to things like stricter gun control, more regulated banking systems, and public broadcasting. For many Canadians, these aren't seen as infringements on freedom, but as necessary components of a safe and stable society. The goal is to level the playing field, ensuring everyone has a fair shot. Now, let's talk about culture and identity. American identity is often described as a melting pot. The idea is that immigrants from all over the world come to the US and assimilate into a shared American culture. While this is a beautiful ideal, it also implies that to become American, one must shed parts of their original culture. The emphasis is on a singular, unified national identity. You see this in the intense patriotism, the reverence for the flag, and the idea of American exceptionalism. The belief that the US is unique and has a special role to play in the world. Canada, on the other hand, officially embraces a policy of multiculturalism, often described as a cultural mosaic. The idea here is that immigrants are encouraged to retain their cultural heritage, creating a vibrant tapestry of different traditions living side by side. You can be Italian Canadian, or Vietnamese Canadian, or Indian Canadian, and these identities are not seen as being in conflict with being Canadian. In fact, they are seen as enriching the national fabric. This leads to a more reserved or nuanced form of patriotism. Canadians are proud of their country, but it's often a quieter pride, rooted in an appreciation for tolerance, diversity, and the quality of life the country offers. This difference in approach to identity also affects how the two countries interact with the world. The United States, with its revolutionary history and immense economic and military power, often sees itself as a global leader, a city upon a hill that should export its values of democracy and liberty. This can sometimes be perceived by others as aggressive or interventionist, but from the American perspective, it's often seen as a moral duty. It's a proactive, loud and proud approach to foreign policy. Canada's role on the world stage is quite different. Historically, Canada has positioned itself as a middle power, a peacekeeper, a negotiator, and a champion of multilateralism. Think of the United Nations. Canada was instrumental in its formation and has always been a strong supporter of international cooperation. Instead of acting as a global policeman, Canada prefers to act as a global mediator. Its foreign policy is less about projecting power and more about building consensus and upholding international law. This is a direct reflection of its domestic culture of compromise and collective well-being, just projected onto the global stage. It's a quieter, more collaborative approach. Let's also touch on a few everyday differences that highlight this divide. Take gun ownership. In the U.S., the Second Amendment protects the right to bear arms, a right deeply connected to the revolutionary idea of self-defense against tyranny. For many Americans, gun ownership is a fundamental right. In Canada, owning a gun is seen as a privilege, not a right, and it's heavily regulated for the purpose of public safety. The debate in the U.S. is about individual rights versus government control, while in Canada, it's almost entirely framed around public health and safety. Another classic example is the healthcare debate. As we mentioned, Canada's single-payer, universal healthcare system is a cornerstone of its identity. The idea that someone could go bankrupt because of medical bills is horrifying to most Canadians. In the U.S., the healthcare system is a complex mix of private and public options, and the debate is often centered on market choices, personal responsibility, and the fear of socialized medicine. It's the ultimate clash between the collective good and individual choice. Even our sense of humor can be different. American humor is often big, bold, and confident. Think of the classic sitcoms or stand-up specials. Canadian humor is often more subtle, dry, and self-deprecating. There is a long-standing tradition of poking fun at ourselves and our own perceived niceness or boringness. It's a humor that reflects a culture that doesn't like to take itself too seriously. So, what does all this mean? Are we really that different? Yes and no. We share a language, a continent, and a love for hockey. Well, mostly. But at our core, we are shaped by two very different national stories. The U.S. is a nation built on a revolutionary dream of individual liberty, creating a dynamic, competitive, and fiercely independent culture. Canada is a nation built on a pragmatic evolution towards a peaceful, orderly society, fostering a culture that values community, security, and compromise. Neither way is inherently better or worse. They are simply different paths taken from a shared starting point. Understanding these foundational differences is key to understanding the political debates, cultural values, and social structures in both countries. It explains why a solution that seems obvious in Toronto might be a non-starter in Texas, and vice versa. It is a fascinating tale of two siblings who grew up next door to each other, but developed their own unique personalities. What do you think? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Are you an American who's noticed these differences when visiting Canada? Or a Canadian living in the U.S.? Share your stories and perspectives. Let's have a great conversation. Thanks so much for watching today. If you found this video interesting, please give it a thumbs up. It helps a ton. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next exploration. Until next time, stay curious.